this session, we did this really successfully in Edinburgh back in December last year. And it was just really a sort of open discussion, and that's what I'm hoping that we can do today. So this is really about you now taking part. So Nick's going to get ever so fit in a minute, running around with the microphone. Sorry? Yes, fit, not fat. So this is over to you, and it's your time, before we split into groups, to talk about and to tell us about your, I hate to use this word, but your journey, how you've got here, and I don't mean whether you came on the M1 or, the train, how you've got to this point today, and to sort of, if you feel brave enough and you wish to share your story. I'm quite happy to share mine with you. So I think I said at the beginning, I had my tumour was discovered 5 years ago, almost to the day. But I'd had stomach problems for, probably 10 years. I'd had tummy ache, tummy pain. I was told I had IBS, all sorts of stuff like that. Had all sorts of different, quite invasive processes, which I'm sure you've all had. And eventually, I was discovered by accident, a bit like Ros said with hers. The surgeon that found that I had a cyst was a gastrointestinal surgeon in Huddersfield, near where I live. And he said to me, I'd been for a couple of scans, and he found this little tiny dot on the outside of where my bowel joins my stomach. And he said, he said, I did this for an elective when I was training. So he did an elective session on GIST and then did it for his thesis. Had he not done that, I don't know that my GIST would have been detected. But he then said, I think it might be this. I'm going to go and talk to the MDT. So off he went to the multidisciplinary team, the MDT in Leeds, and spoke to them. Obviously, this was all in COVID, so there was no actual meeting people. And he phoned me up and said, do you know what, Cathy? I think it is. I've talked to them, and the more I've looked into it, and I've gone back to my papers, and I've found it. So mine was found, and I feel lucky that this guy had done this elective and had done this for his thesis. And that is what brought me then to have GIST. And, the rest of my journey is long and a little troubled. But that was my journey. So I wondered if anybody else would like to share theirs.
Shall I quickly do mine as well? So I used to be really fit. I'm an ex-semi-professional rugby player. I was 40 years old, out jogging with my wife and 4 or 5 other people. And over a period of sort of 3 or 4 weeks, after getting fitter over a period of 6 months, I started to become more laboured in the jogging, and I noticed a bit of heartburn. And there was this one day where we were out jogging. My parents lived sort of 500 yards from this corner that we would go round to carry on down back to where we started, which was another couple of miles. Another 20 miles. No, it was a couple of miles. And I was in so much pain. I said, look, I'm going to have to go up to Mum and Dad. Sarah, can you pick me up from there? And they all took the mickey out of me, as you do. Oh, lightweight, and all the rest of it. So I remember sitting on their sofa, sort of doubling up in pain. So I went to see the doctor. That was the first real indication that there's something a bit more going on. So I went to see my doctor, and he sent me for an endoscopy. Had the endoscopy, nothing. He did a stool sample test and could see there was some blood in the stool. So he said, right, let's do a colonoscopy. And by the way, if you've ever had a colonoscopy, if you're anything like me, you take this prep and you're told, it'll flush you out. It doesn't work for a while when you expect it to work. You take this prep, a couple of hours later, you're thinking, that's not working. And then it works. Oh, my God, does it work. And what happened with me is that I now understand that when it clears you out, if it's normal, it's a nice clear liquid that comes out of you. With me, it was a black liquid. So I phoned my doctor. I'm from a farming family as well, and he knows me well. And I said to him, right, I want to know best and worst case scenarios. What are you looking for? And he came straight out with it. He said, I don't know what, but he said, I just want to make sure it's not a cancer. So, right, fair enough, thank you, pleased with that. Went in for the colonoscopy the next day, and they did the colonoscopy, and I felt okay. He came out to me, I was sat down, and he said, right, can't see any, good news is can't see anything at all in your colon, except for some blood. So it's coming from somewhere above your colon, as far as we can reach. So we've got an ambulance ready, going to take you down to the RUH, and I'm like, what? What do you mean an ambulance? Whatever it is that's bleeding inside you, we need to find it out, and we need to find it out now. So we're going to take you straight down to the RUH. And I said, look, don't worry about the ambulance. My wife will drive me down there. He needed persuading, but she did. And they said, there will be people waiting for you when you go straight to where the ambulances go. So I went in. My hemoglobin level normally is 13, I believe. Where's Catherine, doctor in the room? Yeah. For me, it was 7.6, so I'd lost quite a lot of blood. So they gave me a blood transfusion. They then sent me for another endoscopy, where they then found the tumour. They then tested the tumour, and it was a cyst, and it was on the upper part of my stomach. So what they think happened when they did the initial one, they missed it, because it would have been there, but they got it on the second one. We're talking about a 3-month span. Within 3 weeks, I'd had my operation. Started with, they said, so as we had explained a minute ago, a cyst tumour happens in the connective tissue. So mine was in the connective tissues of the stomach. They thought it was about 2 centimetres in size, so they were going to do laparoscopic keyhole surgery. And they told my wife that, okay, he's going down at 11 o'clock, should be back by about 3 o'clock. I got back at 9 o'clock in the evening because the 3 centimetres was what they could see. It was actually 8 centimetres because most of it was on the outside of the stomach. So I looked like I'd been stabbed half a dozen times and then cut open from there to there. It's all repaired now, thankfully. Human body is an amazing thing. But they removed it, adjuvant imatinib, and as I said, touch wood, no longer. So everybody in this room will have a different story to tell. The purpose of this is so that we can share, if you're willing to, your own experience, and then come and talk to us. If there's any detail that you want some reassurance about things, you can do that. So I'll open it up to the rooms. They'd be brave enough to talk about their situation, whatever part of the journey you're on. Good.
Hi, my name is Kasia. I have a quite, I think, interesting journey. I didn't have any symptoms, and just over a year ago, like end of November, I was just sitting, because I'm an accountant, I long hours, and I was just sitting on my laptop, and I just felt something sort of like pop in my belly. And then I had like a slight pain over 3 days that didn't kind of move anywhere. It was in the same place. And I was always quite a big person. I've noticed I put some weight on, but when I went to doctor a few times, I was told, oh, probably it's premenopausal, there's nothing to worry about. So I never was sent to any tests or anything, to do any tests. So I kind of didn't worry about this until this happened, this kind of little incident. So then I went to the GP, and I was lucky that, I came across the doctor who actually took me seriously, and he just touched my belly, and he said, well, something is not quite right there. So he put me actually on the 2 weeks fast track, basically on a kind of cancer fast track thing on NHS. This 2 weeks took 3 months. Because once they basically discovered that I have something really strange and big inside my belly, I was sent to different multidisciplinary teams in different hospitals. I was just waiting. The scary thing was that when I went first and they thought it was something probably like gynecology related, I went to the first consultant who did scans as well. I had the first CT scan, and then she did like more basically tests, and she told me she doesn't think this is gynecology. This is not my field, but she knew in next 3 days I would have colonoscopy and gastroscopy, and she told me, prepare yourself, they're gonna find it, it's bad, and do not come anymore to the hospital on your own. You always have to come with someone. And then she told me, we have a special room for people like you, so if you want, go to this room now, because you have to prepare yourself for very bad news, without actually kind of more tests or anything. So this was really scary, and it was just before Christmas. So yeah, I kind of fall apart at that point. And then I went, in the next, after 3 days, I went to have a colonoscopy and gastroscopy, and the consultant who did this, he said, this is, I mean, no one can actually say that you have colon cancer without actually doing, more tests and so on. And actually everything was clear. They couldn't find anything, so it was a big mystery. So then I was moved from, from one hospital to the other. Obviously, I've learned how this worked, kind of by experience. I learned that multidisciplinary teams in different hospitals meet on different days. So I was always calling and asking for update, and no one actually wanted to do anything for me because they didn't know. They were saying, oh, it's probably not us, we have to send you somewhere else. So at the end, I was actually referred to Basingstoke because they thought it was appendix cancer, the one that is actually basically presenting as a kind of like a very dense jelly all over your abdomen. So I finally got, after 3 months, to see the specialist in Basingstoke, and he told me we have to do surgery very soon, and he actually wanted to do biopsy before the surgery to confirm if it was actually this cancer. But then we asked, and my daughter asked, what is gonna change if we wait even longer for the results of the biopsy? And he said, well, actually nothing. The plan is to remove it anyway, to do the surgery. So we didn't do the biopsy. I still had the surgery with this consultant within few days, really. I stayed in the hospital for almost 2 weeks, and my tumor was 35 centimeter by 30 by 19. Yeah, it was huge. They managed to remove it in one piece, and with margins apparently, but because they thought it was appendix cancer, the surgery also involved the hot chemo, because that's kind of usual thing that they do for this kind of cancer. And then I've learned that actually it doesn't work for GIST, but in case there was something else there, I hope it kind of killed it as well. And then I was like 2 months off work after the surgery because it was very big open surgery. And I was waiting 3 months from the surgery to confirmation actually what kind of cancer it was. So then I was referred to Royal Marsden, so now I'm on imatinib. And actually, first when I thought I had this appendix cancer, I was supposed to be like 1 in a million. Then I was like 7 in a million. And I was actually so happy that within those rare cancers, I actually have exon 11, which is the most common one. So I was happy for once not to be the special one, but the most common one. So I can actually take imatinib, and so far, so good. So there's no evidence of disease, but yeah, I have lots of side effects, but I don't mind. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to have it.
How long ago was this?
Just over a year.
And look at you now. Let's give a round of applause. What a story.
Yeah. You have really been through it, haven't you?
Yeah. It just shows how specialist centres are so important as well. So, but you're looking healthy.
Yeah. Anyone else wish to share down at the back there, Nick?
Hello, everybody. My name is Mohammed Kamara. I was diagnosed in October 2025. Initially, I'm a very independent person. I'm a nurse by profession, and I worked very, very hard. And at some point last year, I started to feel a kind of side pain on my left side. And but it's one of those things that is just a side pain. Took few paracetamols, it did not go away, and I started to realize that when I sit for a long time, I feel some kind of continuous pain there, and it's becoming difficult for me, and I was losing appetite, and by then I was weighing about 71 kg, and I started losing appetite, and so I decided to phone my GP, and they gave me an appointment, but the appointment was taking too long, so the pain was increasing, so I decided to call to go to the emergency unit. They did ECG and stuff, and the doctor told me, that I can't find anything, I can feel something strong there, but it's okay, go with naproxen, and then if you feel anything, just come back. And I said, okay, but I was not too comfortable, but because it was taking some time for my GP appointment, so I had to wait for that. So I went for the GP appointment, and my GP explained to her, and she said, okay, we're going to run all the scans and do everything, and we did all the scans, blood tests and stuff. She asked me to X-ray to be done for me, and she booked me for an ultrasound. And then I did all that, and when I went for the ultrasound, it was on a Sunday, and it was taking too long when they got to the left side. It was taking too long, and they asked me, have you ever experienced anything? I said, it's just side pain. It's like, okay, the lady called her colleague, and they were there. It was taking about an hour, and they said, we found something there. Do you know what it is? I said, I don't know. It looks like, we are not sure as well, but it looks like something connected to the spleen or so. But anyway, we're going to contact your GP anyway. So I went home that Sunday. On the Monday morning, I was off work, and I'm sleeping, and my GP called me, and hello, hi. I said, yeah, you had an ultrasound yesterday. I said, yes. It looks like it's a possible cancer. I said, huh? I said, it looks like, I said, but we're going to make sure we fast track it for you and refer you to a clinic. I said, okay, that's fine. So I decided not to think about it. I just sleep, and I woke up and tried to forget about it. And the next day went to work, but my weight was going down, and people, my colleagues at work were asking me, Mo, what's going on with you? I said, your weight is going down. And they know when I go to work, because we do a long day, I don't play, I eat a lot. And then because it's a long shift, so I don't play. If I'm at home, I don't bother much about food, but when I'm at work, I eat a lot, and my appetite going down. I'm not eating much. And I was doing one night shifts, and my manager was doing a bank shift, and she walked up to me and said, Mo, what's going on? You're losing weight. Are you on Monjaro or sort of anything? I said, no. I said, it's fine, but then I don't want to volunteer any information then, because I don't know what was going on. So so eventually I was referred to the gastro team at Lewisham Hospital, and we looked at the ultrasound scan, and they said, this is really big, about 19 centimeters. It could be benign, but we don't know. But we have to refer you to do a CT scan. Have you got any plans? But then I booked the weekend off to Hungary. I was going for, I play Scrabble internationally as well, so I was going for the Scrabble tournament. I said, okay, you can go for your Scrabble tournament and come back, and then we can have you the scan. So I went for the tournament, came back, and on the Tuesday I had a scan, and they had to call me and say, unfortunately, it's just tumor. But however, don't worry, we're going to refer you to Guys and St. Thomas Hospital. The two trusts will be considering your situation, and they had to do PET scan and stuff, and we went there, and they said we could do surgery. I said, okay, that's fine. So my sister was there to support me, and then we went, but before that, I went one fateful day at work, because I was still working then, and I went there. But I did, they did a biopsy, and the biopsy the pain was so much, and the pain was increasing on the side as well. So like I was in pain and walking as well, but I had to manage this shift and stuff, and then want to create. But I managed to go through the shifts, and off work on my home, I couldn't go home. I had to order a cab to go. Struggled to get into the cab. It was so painful, and that night I ended up in hospital, and I was admitted for about a week. It was confirmed it was just tumor, and then I had an appointment with guys in St. Thomas, and I sat with the oncology and surgical team. The surgical team told me, yeah, we've seen your scans and all this kind of thing, but your gist is interconnected, so we might not do a surgery. We are not going to do surgery. And I was hoping for a surgery, so we're not going to do surgery. And but however, we're going to put you on imatinib with the intention of shrinking it. And so like it was very emotional and very detailed information. We are all honest information and all this kind of thing. So like the oncologist reiterated what the surgical team told me, that it's not going to be no surgery for now. It's going to be dangerous. So let's continue. Let's start with imatinib, but they couldn't start me the imatinib in good time because they were seeing if it's a different type of mutation, and but we're waiting. But I was going downhill, and one day the consultant went there, lied down, and the way she saw you can actually feel my left side of my stomach bloating up there, and you can feel the difference between my left and right side of my stomach, and she said, no, we're going to start imatinib. We started imatinib on 400 milligram, 2 loads of side effects. I don't know what I'm going to get, because I said, okay, I decided to take it at night before I sleep, but I don't know what I was going to get. I'll get diarrhea, confusion, all over the place. I can't, sometimes it's very difficult. So, and continues like that for about a month or so, and I went for a routine appointment. There was routine bloods taken, and they found out I was neutropenic. At some point, I couldn't neutropenic, and they had to stop it. And they said, "Okay, we're going to put you on free grass team. You can come every day." I said, "No, you don't. If you trust me, I'll go. I'll be giving. It's a subcut. I'll give it myself." And I did it for a whole week. And then after that, another blood test, and they said, "Okay, we can continue with it." It was emotionally draining, considering like I'm all over the place. I work hard. After my work, I can go for my Scrabble tournament. I'll travel and a lot, and I've got to this point now. So it was very, very emotional. So I said to myself, you know what? It's either of two things. This is the reality now. I've been diagnosed with this, and it's either of two things. I am a Muslim by religion. It's either, if it's there to take my life, I'm helpless. I just have to answer the call of God. If it's there for a trial, then I'll go through the trial and continue to be faithful. So I said, you know what? I just have to factor out all the emotions out of it and try to live my normal life. So I started to go out for my Scrabble tournaments again and try to be myself again, mix with friends and do other things. And when I'm at home on my own, I just try to distract myself, play my online Scrabble, and read and do other stuff that I like. I stopped watching the news. Anything that will make me upset, I stop it. Anything that you want to send, you talking to me, you have to be fun. If you know anything fun, anything serious, okay, I'll call you back later. I just want to be myself again, because I used to be very, very, exciting and person and all over the place. So, and as a nurse, I know what it means to be depressive about all these outcomes, because if you get depression, and at the end of the day, your blood pressure goes up, you're hypertensive, and then you start getting antidepressants, antihypertensives, and all. So I don't want to be on a handful of medications every day. The imatinib is more than enough for me. So I decided, you know what, let me manage it as I can manage it as much as possible, so that I'll go through it and just on the imatinib, and it's been working for me. My last scan was in February, from 19 centimeters, now it's down to 11. I'm going to have my next appointment on May 5, and then before that, they'll do another scan. Hopefully, it's going down as well. So I just want to say, let me just share that with you. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you for that. There's something I normally say, and people that have been to these meetings before, I forgot to say it at the start, and you've just reminded me from what you've just said to us. Positive mental attitude. I keep that in the back of my mind at all times. I think it's great that you just said, anybody who's not going to be happy and talk nice things, you know, just ignore what we say that's anything slightly negative here. It's context. But positive mental attitude is a really, really important thing, in my opinion. I'm not at all religious, so I don't share that side of it, but we all have our ways of dealing with these type of things. Mine is to stay positive and in a way do what you do, surround myself with people that are fun rather than depressing people. And they're not depressing per se, but you know, you get some people that are, my mum, when I told her, she said, right, okay, what do we need to do? Let's get this sorted out. My dad was, oh my God, what does that mean? You know, and it's different people. So positive mental attitude. I'll end with that as well later on this afternoon. Sorry, I'm nicking your...
I was going to ask you to say exactly what you just said, so that's good. Is there anyone else who wants to share? Go on, Ross.
Hi, so I'd retired and I was one of these people that was really, really busy and getting old, but thinking of anything niggly things I sort of ignored. And I was in a different board of trustee meeting. Luckily, another trustee was a nurse, a district nurse, and she saw me and I was eating antacid tablets. Now, I've had a bit of reflux and, you know, indigestion, you know, earlier on in my life. And so I knew my dad had taken antacid tablets. You know, when he got indigestion, it was an old person's thing. So I'd been taking these, but I noticed it was getting a bit worse. And during this meeting, I was actually taking them every sort of 5 minutes and getting in really bad indigestion. And this lady came across to me and said, have you done anything about that? I said, well, I'm just taking these tablets. She said, well, you need to go and see the doctor. They can give you something, omeprazole or whatever it was, and then you'll be a lot better instead of taking these. So I did. And then about a month later, I got up in the middle of the night and I was really weak and sick. And I looked in the mirror and I was ashen. And then I'd been to the toilet and noticed there was a little bit of blood in my stools. Went down to the doctor. He took one look at the colour of me and he said, hospital. Now this was at the very beginning of COVID. No visitors, nobody was allowed to come in with me. A&E, I went in, got on a trolley, and because I was so anemic, they couldn't get hold of any blood samples. And my initial memory of this was about 7 different nurses trying to stick a needle in me and trying to get some blood to find out. Couldn't do it. So in the end, they trundled across a machine which could actually be sort of x-ray, like look in and find an appropriate vessel to actually get in. And along came the most amazingly handsome American doctor to operate this machine, because the nurses had all given up on me. And then we suddenly found out that it was due for Trump trying to be president. We got into discussion, so I forgot all about my blood and everything, looking up at this amazing American doctor, and find out he didn't support Trump, even though he's from Texas. And he finally, with this machine, got a bit of blood. Blood transfusions. I was really, really weak and having a problem. So, blood transfusions, got myself back not looking anemic, and I had never any thought that this was a big problem. I just thought, oh, another old age thing, you know, I've had indigestion now, I'm a bit anemic, I'll be better. I went home and I wasn't better and ended up having to go for tubes down, tubes up. And my area, Staffordshire, we have a hospital, the University Hospital of North Midlands, and it's split into 2, a huge one in Stoke and then a county hospital in Stafford. For some reason, some of my tests were in one hospital and the other tests were in the opposite hospital. Now, you'd think they'd liaise and send all the things, so one person would then look but COVID was on. So I had all these tests in November, and then nothing happened. I didn't hear any more. And then by January, I rang my GP, and I said, "No news, good news?" And he said, "Let me have a look." And thank God, like Cathy had somebody who was able to act. I had a GP who'd been an ex-surgeon, and he was actually able to see my scan. And nobody talked about the C word. I had a mass. My mass was here. I started to look pregnant because this mass was growing and growing, 17 by 12, I think, by 6 then. And he had a look and he said, "No, you've got a mass. You need to get this sorted quickly. I'm going to fast track you." Within a week, I was in hospital, and they were then deciding to have the operation. But they thought it was this ovarian cyst because it was near this side. So I was seeing gynae people. I was seeing people that had no knowledge of GIST whatsoever, and it wasn't a GIST specialist hospital. It was a fantastic hospital, but no GIST specialist. So yes, I was thinking I was going in to have an ovarian cyst removed, and then it would be out. So of course this green dye wouldn't have worked for me, because when they operated, they had to have 2 surgical teams, opened up, found out it wasn't there, it was coming out of a different part. The system had to then call in a different surgical team to come and remove it. And it was very large by then. And then it came out, you go through all the healing bit, and eventually somebody, and I think it was the gynae surgeon that rang me and said, and my husband was hearing on the phone, and I don't think I heard the C word. So afterwards I said to him, "What is it I've got, Ken?" And he said, "Well, I don't know." So I thought, well, better ring her back, because I've just had this message, but I don't know what I've got. So we did ring the nurse back, oncology nurse now, and she said, "Yeah, you've got cancer. You have a mass, which is a cancer, but it's all been removed, clear margins, and it's going to go to the MDT and so on to decide the pathway of treatment." And of course, nobody told me that this takes a lot of time for it to be decided with all the histology tests and everything else. So I'm worrying, there's this spread, or nobody was giving me any feedback. And this is the pattern for a lot of people. After you've had it removed, you don't hear anything. But of course, it's a lot of work. They're having to check to find out what it is, and not only what it is, but the type of thing it is, etc. And so eventually I found out that I had a GIST cancer. It was a rare cancer, but it was luckily an exon 11, which could be treated adjuvantly with imatinib, which I never heard of. But now I am a rare person. One of my GPs actually has ever heard of GIST. I'm currently waiting for a hernia operation, looking pregnant again. And having spoken to my surgeon for this operation, which is imminent, he turned around to me and said, I said, because about putting the mesh in, and he said, "Oh, don't worry, GIST is nothing, it's nothing to be worried about. This is a surgeon back at the university hospital." I said, "It's a cancer." And he said, "No, it's not a cancer." This is 4 years after I've actually had it. I said, "I'm on the board of trustees. I know this is a GIST cancer." "No, it's not a cancer." So we parted. I'm imminently waiting for this thing, and I'm now going to take him all the booklets and educate this surgeon who is now going to operate on my hernia, and I'm a bit worried now. I have no confidence in this man that he's going to do what he's supposed to do. But that just shows everybody at some point will find people who do not know anything about this at all. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that had indigestion beforehand as well, and I've had lots of the similar things, but you'd sort of carry on, and mine was growing, and thank God for my GP. So I'm here.
And unfortunately, you've heard stories that, could make your hair curl, but these are all real experiences. And I know in the room there's people who've had other experiences that are equally as awful. And this is one of the things when Nick was talking about the 10-year cancer plan and the rare cancers bill, this is one of the things that this should, and I'm saying should carefully, tackle, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah, it is. I mean, one of the questions I asked to the chap who is rolling out the 10-year cancer plan is the gatekeepers of diagnosis of the GPs. We've got a GP in the room. Might be more than one GP in the room. I don't know. But how do we ensure that when somebody presents with something that could be a rare cancer, how do we ensure that they're trained enough to recognise that? And the honest answer to that is you will never train them to recognise rare cancers because they are rare. So what you need to do is recognise that it's something that could be serious. And I've always advocated for the European way of doing things, which is let's look at the worst case scenario first and do some tests to establish that it's not a cancer. The response I get from that is, if we did that now, it would clog up the system because we don't have enough diagnostic facilities. However, in the 10-year cancer plan, they are ramping up what they call, and some of you may have visited these, they were called community diagnostic hubs. I think they still are called something like that, aren't they? Where if your doctor can see something that he's not sure about, he can himself refer you to a community diagnostic hub, and it should happen fairly quickly, so you'll get the diagnostics to check. But even then, we've heard today that they don't pick it up. They didn't pick mine up, first of all. They missed it. So we're humans as well. Maybe AI can help us in the future. I don't know. All I do know is that things are looking better because of everything that's going on. So we have reasons to be, following our friend earlier, optimistic about the future for all cancer patients. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your stories with us. It is really important that we all talk about it, and some of my friends don't like me talking about it, but it is important that we talk about it and don't just hide the fact we've got this cancer. Right, we are we're a bit muddled now because I was hoping to get this next bit done before lunch at 1. But what I'm going to do is try and establish the next bit. We'll start it a bit before lunch and then run it a little bit after lunch. So this next bit is where you're going to, in a minute, move around and talk to people who are in the same or similar position as you. So it might be they're on the same drug as you. It might be that they're not on any drug. It might be that they're newly diagnosed. It can be all sorts of things. So this is going to need a little bit of manoeuvring.
Shall I suggest I quickly just go around to each
That's
table
what I was just going to ask,
I
yeah.
tell you what
I was
each
gonna
one of
do.
these says. Have a listen and think, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, there
Then
might
you'll
be
know which
two
table.
of the same. I might have made a mistake.
So we've got table 1, imatinib or Gleevec or any of the other imatinib drugs, because
Yes.
it's off patent now, stopped working. Table 2 is sunitinib or Sutent. Table 2, table 7. Table 6 is inoperable tumours. Table 2, imatinib stopped working, same as
But
that one.
they might, and it might just be imatinib on those two tables.
Yeah. Post-operative, no further treatment. What's this one? Table 8 is newly diagnosed. Don't everybody go there, because I know there's a lot of people that are newly diagnosed. Try and be a bit selective. Oh, I've done that one. Post-operative, yeah. Table 4, regorafenib. Table 3 is repretinib on license approval sought. So
yeah,
that's
I typed that before that.
yeah, that's an optimistic
Didn't do
table.
Table at the back number.
Table at the back says, she's right about getting me fit. Paul's GIST, so that's the pediatric, adolescent, wild type and syndromic. So younger people or the very, very ultra rare cancers are here. So I think you now want people to try and find the table that most represents their situation.
Yes, if you could do that, please.